Logan, Hugh Jackman, formerly the Wolverine, wakes up in the back of a limo, groggy and disheveled. It's the middle of the night. He stumbles out and finds a Mexican gang trying to steal the limo's wheels. Logan calmly attempts to intervene, but one of the gang members blasts him with a shotgun. Standing up, Logan reveals his claws, an act that is evidently painful, but one doesn't extend all the way. He fights the gang, receiving his share of abuse as they beat him down, but manages to brutally maim and kill most of them before the rest run away. The year is 2029. Looking no older than 50, Logan has still aged to over 170 years and is no longer the same fighter he once was. His superhuman healing ability is failing and the adamantium in his body is slowly killing him. As a result, his body aches and he coughs up blood on occasion. Mutants are on the brink of extinction and no new ones have been born in 25 years. Driving for a limo service in El Paso, Texas under his birth name, James Howlett. He also carries an adamantium bullet with him in case he ever decides to end it all. While he waits for a client at a funeral, he is approached by a woman named Gabriela Lopez, Elizabeth Rodriguez. She claims to know who he is and asks for his help, but Logan turns her away. Gabriela drives off as a young girl in the back seat stares at Logan. One morning a man enters Logan's limo, introducing himself as Donald Pierce, Boyd Holbrook. He appears to know much about Logan, saying he's aware of his unofficial participation in the killing of the gang members and alludes to Logan's side job as caretaker for one Charles Xavier just south of the border. Pierce says he knows Logan was contacted by a person of interest and claims that he only wants what Gabriela has, something she took from him. He hands Logan a card and tells him to call when he finds Gabriela again. The card reads that Donald is head of security at Alkali Transigen, a biotechnological corporation. Logan drives off, furious. Logan heads into Mexico to an abandoned plant where he and the clairvoyant mutant Caliban, Stephen Merchant, an albino psychic, are taking care of Xavier, Patrick Stewart. Charles has been reduced to a shell of his former self, crippled and suffering from a degenerative brain disease which produces seizures. Thanks to his mutation, the seizures produce staggering psionic blasts which paralyze anyone within reach. Logan must administer a special serum to keep Xavier's episodes under control, though the doses often leave him confused and senile. Xavier has become broken since the loss of his school and fellow X-Men some time ago and says that Logan is just waiting for him to die. Logan argues with Caliban about obtaining enough medicine for Xavier. Caliban explains that it's hard caring for Xavier, especially when Logan won't communicate about his own needs, which are more than evident to the albino. Logan storms off. Later, he receives a notification for 2 passengers and drives to a motel. There, he comes across Gabriela again with the young girl whom Gabriela says is her 11-year-old daughter, Laura Daphne Keene. She offers Logan $50,000 to help them reach a place called Eden in North Dakota en route to Canada before handing him an envelope with coordinates written on it and $20,000 inside. Logan reluctantly agrees and heads home to prepare. There, he tells Xavier that their dream of leaving and buying a boat may actually become reality. Logan argues with Caliban about obtaining enough medicine for Xavier. Caliban explains that it's hard caring for Xavier, especially when Logan won't communicate about his own needs, which are more than evident to the albino. Logan storms off. Later, he receives a notification for 2 passengers and drives to a motel. There, he comes across Gabriela again with the young girl whom Gabriela says is her 11-year-old daughter, Laura Daphne Keene. She offers Logan $50,000 to help them reach a place called Eden in North Dakota en route to Canada before handing him an envelope with coordinates written on it and $20,000 inside. Logan reluctantly agrees and heads home to prepare. There, he tells Xavier that their dream of leaving and buying a boat may actually become reality. However, when he returns to the motel, he finds that Gabriela has been murdered and Laura is missing. Logan takes Gabriela's cell phone and finds she was in the process of sending him a text telling him to hurry as they'd been found. Logan returns home, dejected, but is stunned to find that Laura has stowed away in the trunk of his limo. Xavier excitedly hosts the young girl and tries to convince Logan that she needs their help. However, Logan correctly predicts that she'll be found and, soon enough, Pierce comes knocking at their door. Logan claims Laura is not there and, when Pierce persists, Laura throws a pipe at his head, knocking him out. Logan tells Caliban to take Pierce out into the desert and leave him there. Caliban dresses heavily to protect his sensitive skin from the sun and carts Pierce's body away, but a squad of elites from Transigen, the Reavers, arrive. They pick up Pierce and capture Caliban. The Reavers return to the plant and two enter to retrieve Laura, who is calmly eating a bowl of cereal, while Logan and the others wait outside. They all hear commotion from inside, including screams and gunfire. Laura appears, throwing the head of one of the Reavers at Pierce's feet. She then steps forward, producing two adamantium claws from each of her hands and one from each foot and viciously attacks the Reavers. A stunned Logan finally helps her fight and flees the scene in the limo with Xavier and Laura in the back seat. Caliban is taken by the Reavers and tortured with sunlight in order to get him to use his powers to track the trio. Logan demands to know who Laura is and Xavier responds that she is very much like him. Logan looks through Gabriella's phone for clues and finds a video which reveals that she used to work for Transigen in the genetics department. However, the phone dies before the video can finish. They stop at a convenience store to stock up on supplies. The clerk, Dave Davis, attempts to stop Laura from shoplifting some chips and sunglasses, but she easily flips him over and nearly claws him before Logan intervenes, saying not okay. He then takes a phone charger and cigar and leaves. That night, as the phone charges, Logan watches the rest of Gabriella's video. She had documented her role as a nurse in the genetic experimentation of New Mutant children, led by Dr. Xander Rice, Richard E. Grant, with the intention of turning them into super soldiers. Using DNA from known mutants, most of whom were deceased, the children were conceived and born to anonymous mothers who would not be missed. The children, including Laura, were dubbed X-23 and raised under harsh conditions. Simple pleasures, such as birthdays, were frowned upon. The experiment was deemed a failure due to the fact that the children sustained too much emotion and often refused to follow orders. With the introduction of X-24, it was decided the children would be terminated. Rather than see them killed, Gabriella helped orchestrate an escape and the location of Eden was designated as a safe point so the children could live free in Canada. In the video's final moments, Gabriella admits that she is not Laura's mother but loves her all the same. Addressing Logan, she apologizes for lying about the total fee that she would pay him but hopes that, as her biological father, he will keep her safe. The trio enter Oklahoma City and take residence in a hotel where Logan discovers that Laura has been reading an X-Men comic book. He finds that the coordinates to Eden are included in the book and is convinced that the whole trip is a charade. Angry, he confronts Laura to Xavier's disdain and tells her the X-Men stories she's been reading are fantasized and that Eden does not exist. Logan leaves Xavier and Laura in their room and goes downstairs where he sees that the Reavers have followed them. Room where some of the Reavers have already found Laura and Xavier. Logan kills them all before injecting Xavier with his serum, ending the paralysis, and the three escape in a new vehicle. On the road, a report goes over the incident in Oklahoma City and relates the similarity to an event that occurred in Westchester 1 year prior, but Logan turns off the radio. They are nearly run off the road by a robotic freight truck and swerve to avoid a pickup hauling a trailer full of horses. Xavier convinces Logan to help and uses his telepathic powers to bring the horses back. The driver introduces himself as Will Munson, Eric LaSalle, accompanied by his wife Catherine, Elise Neal, and son Nate, Quincy Faust. Logan then helps push their pickup out of a ditch. Logan is eager to leave immediately after dinner, but Catherine offers them to spend the night as it's late. Logan only agrees for Xavier's sake and carries him upstairs to bed. Seeing that their water supply has been tampered with, Will goes out to investigate and Logan tags along. They find and fix the obvious leak at the pump some distance away and are confronted by a group of thugs led by a man who owns the land. He harasses Will, saying he's been skimping on payments, but Logan hits one of the thugs in the face with his own rifle and breaks it over his knee, scaring them off. Back at the house, Xavier lies in bed and senses Logan entering the room. He tearfully pleads with him to be patient with Laura, asleep on the floor beside him, and expresses regret and remorse over what happened a year ago. It is implied that Xavier suffered a massive seizure at his school in Westchester, which resulted in the deaths of most of the X-Men. A surveillance van. The thugs who abused Will before arrive at the house in retaliation for their earlier humiliation, but X-24 kills them all. Logan sets Xavier down in the bed of a pickup truck. Charles utters the name of their boat and dies. Bereaved, Logan engages X-24 in a furious fight. Meanwhile, Caliban fights back against his captors and sets off 2 grenades, muttering the phrase his mother once told him. "Beware the light." The van explodes and Pierce is thrown out while Rice escapes. Logan is nearly overpowered by the X-24 until Will rams into the mutant with his truck, pinning him against some farm equipment. Will repeatedly shoots X-24 with a shotgun and then turns the gun on Logan. The gun is out of shots and Will collapses, dead. Logan retrieves Laura and takes her with Xavier's body and drives away. The following morning, Dr. Rice and his crew take care of the scene and inject X-24 with an agent to help him heal. Logan buries Charles in an unmarked grave in the woods while Laura watches. Afterwards, he goes back to their truck and begins smashing it in fury before passing out. Later, Logan wakes up in a clinic. The doctor, James Handy, tells Logan he knows he's a mutant and says he wants to help him, aware that the adamantium in his body is killing him. Logan refuses and leaves with Laura. He begrudgingly thanks her and she finally speaks by responding "You're welcome" in Spanish. The children then leave, their future uncertain but free. Laura takes the cross on Logan's grave and tilts it sideways, to look like an X,